This is for Jesus Warriors Club once more, and today's topic, what I'm going to talk about, is when Jesus causes a storm, he brings a calm. We've all heard of Jesus sleeping in the boat, and then there was a big storm, and the disciples woke up Jesus, telling him, "Aren't you afraid that we are perishing? Come save us." It's better if I read what I have. This one, you'll get it in Matthew 8, 23 to 27. I just read the part I have here. You can pursue the rest on yourself, by yourself, after this. But he was asleep. Then his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, "Lord, save us. We are perishing." But he said to them, "Why are you fearful, O you of little faith?" Then he arose and rebuked the wind and the sea, and there was a great calm. Jesus said, "Hey, you of little faith." He awoke, he rebuked the sea, and there was calm. I told you my stories are many. There are many. When I tell, somebody may think it's fiction or it's fabrication or whatever, depending on whoever. And if there is any propaganda out there, I think it will be coming to that nature. But these are true happenings in my life, really. I was talking about being in the place where I was working. There was a time when I was made persona non grata, and I had to get here to this town. Through thick and thin, God saw me through. I arrived here. After staying for some time, my children now had relocated from where they used to stay with my mom to this town. We were staying in another place, another house, another place in this town. And since I came from that time, I had been forbidden never to step at my hometown, which is my mother's place. It's around an hour's drive if somebody has to drive. An hour or an hour and a half. Forbidden totally never to go there. So, languishing around, because I told you there is whatever I've been saying. My mom rang and wanted the children home because she'd been staying there for some time. So there was preparation to take them, and they insisted I board the vehicle. I knew I would be a danger to the children, so I did not. I told them flatly I would not. Because as I was saying, I would see those who were monitoring and those who had heard it from the phone, and they would discuss in low tones, and I knew they were discussing about it. This guy should not defy the order. So I knew I could not explain it to the mother of the children. I could not explain it to the children. But because they had made arrangements and a vehicle had been looked for, a small taxi that was to take them there, I put my trust in God's faith. There was sunshine. It was around 4. So she was to take the children there and then come back with the same taxi, leave the children with my mother in the rural home. So the vehicle was already packed, people were packing, and now the issue was here. If they are going, what are these things that I'm fearing? And I knew that my boarding that vehicle would be a danger to them. So I took faith in my heart and waved them goodbye. The sun was shining, and they took off. After a while, I saw some vehicles that were following. I knew those vehicles were following that vehicle. There were those who used to guard, they used to stay in the neighboring place. those who used to guard were staying there, but of these ones who were following, some had even entered the compound and come out, as civilians, people doing that, as people, not me, as people coming to, and I knew they were following. I didn't know what it was, but I kept my faith in the Lord. And when they were going, there was a certain change in the weather, and there was a thick cloud cover, and within, was it 15 minutes, there was a very heavy downpour. Very heavy, very heavy. That they were telling me when she came back, she was telling me it rained up to a point where they could not even be able to see beyond the windscreen. So the driver had to stop the vehicle by the roadside. They literally had to stop. And after that, they went back, arrived to the place safely, and she came back with the vehicle. Because she would not be able to hear the talk, but there was talk of that storm amongst the group that was there. They used to talk the way they would talk. I would get to them, because when you are a victim, you are very sensitive. You're able to hear things that people talk, and others assume that you're going insane, so you take it that way. So they were talking of that storm, the way they could also not see, and they had to terminate the pursuit. And I sat down and wondered what caused a certain storm when there was a lot of sunshine. All of a sudden, a storm, big rain, sudden. And I ran, and the children were having a good time there. I knew they were in the safety of the Lord's hand. They stayed for the length of time they were to stay, and she went back to take them. But after that storm, even those who were following were cautious, because when they would discuss, they used to discuss, they would always talk about the storm and God's working. They realized it was not a normal storm. They realized it was God who was doing whatever was happening, because the vehicle that was carrying the children and their mother had to park. Theirs also had to park. I don't know if they pursued to the end or if they didn't, but they had to park. And there was talk about that storm. So from that, I realized that when you have faith, where Jesus says, "Oh, you of little faith," if you have faith, Jesus can be able to generate a storm during your time of problems. And this storm is not there to destabilize you. It is a storm that is caused to destabilize your enemies, so that you may remain safe within that storm. And then Jesus will rebuke the storm. But all through the process, you are calm within the storm. I had this saying one time when I was, when these things were happening and there were other things happening in my life, and I was in dire straits. I was able to communicate with some of the colleagues who used to work with, and there was a lady who was a believer in Christ. By then I told her a lot of my constraints and all this, and she looked at me and told me, "I understand." And then she told me, "Pray for Jesus to give you calm." I asked her, "Do you really understand what I'm telling you? Because this is my situation. This and this is happening, that and that is happening. All these things are happening, and they're so confusing. I do not even know what's happening. I believe in God." By then my faith was half. Then she told me, "Do not look for the end of whatever is happening first. Look for Jesus to give you calm within the situation." To me, it was strange. How can you ask for calm when there is a storm all over your life? in every sphere, every aspect. You are only seeing storms. And she told me, believe, just have faith. And I prayed and said, oh God, give me that faith. I need that faith, but everything is falling apart. After some concentration, she told me, that time I never used to fast. Can you fast? I said, I can try. She told me, do it for a week. Don't take breakfast, just take supper. And that's what I did for a week. It was tough at the beginning, but eventually I was able to do it. And after that week, after prayers, I felt a certain calm. It was surprising because this time, the other time, I was always lamenting to the people. This is what is happening. This is what is happening. Why hasn't God done this? Who can be able to connect with God on my behalf? That is the time I would go to people asking for a lot of prayers. And eventually there was also another program on the radio. I used to listen to Christian programs too. And there was another preacher who was saying, do not rely on your pastor. Do not rely on any other person. The battle is yours. Pray. So after that, and after all those prayers, I was calm. In most things I would do. In fact, people would look at me and say, I am crazy, because there were things that were happening around me and they could see them. But then I was behaving as if nothing was happening. And others were saying, this one has reached a saturation point. Keep your eyes on him. He can be able to do anything. But that was not the situation. The situation is that a certain calm had come into me. And that was where it was able to make me take it easy when they were going that time. And I felt that calm even when they were going. God caused a storm. They arrived safely. They took a while, they came. From that time they would go and come, but I never used to, because that burn on me still stands up to now. Though there are two situations that made me get there shortly. Still stands, and the Lord has shown me that sometimes he can bring a storm so that he can calm a situation. So there are times when Jesus can cause a storm to bring a calm in your life. There are times when things may go haywire, but out of that storm, your enemies will be confused, everything will be thrown in disarray, and you are left calm and standing. So in whatever happens, be it a storm in life, things are not going the way you want, everything is haywire. Always remember that some storms are caused by Jesus to cover you. Yes, a big storm, but the purpose is not to destroy you, to cover you. And within that big storm, he will give you a calm. When people are seeing a storm around them, you are calm. And when the storm passes, you find that this storm was brought for your safety. If this has touched you faith-wise, I would ask you to download the Bible or buy a Bible. And always remember, like that preacher was preaching on the radio, the pastor, that this battle is not about you running to your pastor, you running to whoever. This is your battle. So, you are the temple of the Lord. Always remember that. The buck stops at you. You are the one to battle. And Jesus is our fort. He will always cover you. in a storm, with a storm, with shields, in the fort. Jesus Christ is our fort. Be safe in Fort Jesus. That is my take for today.